Here we are, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the last of the golden 4, or well technically 5, classic Sonic games, as well as one of my favorite games of all time. Where should I even begin? Well, I guess we can start with the development history and pre-release stuff, since it is pretty interesting. Almost everyone and their grandma's pet rock knows about this stuff, so I'll keep it brief. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 began development in January of 1993, not even 2 months after the release of Sonic 2. Sonic 3 was envisioned as this huge project with levels triple the size of Sonic 2, as well as a story that would expand the world of Sonic. However, due to hardware restrictions of the Genesis cartridges, as well as limited time they had to work on it, plus a McDonald's promotion oddly enough, they reluctantly split the game into two halves, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic & Knuckles, releasing on February 4th, 1994 and October 18th, 1994 respectively. However, the original cartridge for the second half of the game, Sonic & Knuckles, was a special snowflake. As you see, it utilized a brand new type of technology called lock-on technology, where cartridges using this, as the name implies, can be locked onto other cartridges, a feature so advanced that it was only used with one game. If you attach Sonic & Knuckles to Sonic 2, you can play as Knuckles in Sonic 2 with all his new abilities and such I'll get into later. Attaching it to Sonic 1 will let you play over 100 million variations of the Blue Sphere special stages from Sonic 3. Locking it onto any other game will just give you this no way screen. But the main attraction is when you attach Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic & Knuckles, which combines the two halves of the game into the intended full package, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is a version I'll be reviewing, since I see no reason to play both of them individually, honestly. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get to reviewing Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And look, I'm just going to be referring to this game as just Sonic 3. Since and Knuckles is on my list of top 5 3 syllables, I don't enjoy saying next to Sonic 3, okay? Anyways, time to jump right into the fast-paced gameplay immediately and... I think I might have bought the wrong game. Yes, Sonic 3 was the first game in the Sonic franchise with a save feature, except no it wasn't. The game saves your progress per zone, but not on each individual act, so if you game over on Act 2, you have to complete the first act over again, which isn't a big deal really since they aren't too long. What's also cool is that once you've beaten the game, you can go back and choose any zone in your save file and replay it. Now, let's discuss the story of Sonic 3. It takes place after the events of the second game, after the Death Egg fell down to the Earth after Sonic survived the bullshit Death Egg robot, so I guess Sonic CD isn't canon then. The Death Egg crashes on an island called Angel Island, a floating island that is able to keep afloat via the power of the Master Emerald. On this island lives Knuckles the Knuckles the Echidna, who's the guardian of the Master Emerald, although it doesn't seem like it anymore. Seriously, when was the last Sonic game we actually saw Knuckles doing his job on Angel Island? Since Knuckles is really gullible, Robotic manages to trick Knuckles into thinking Sonic wants to steal the Master Emerald, so he can keep Sonic and Tails busy as he repairs the Death Egg. Later on, Sonic and Tails go to visit Angel Island with this tornado, during which Sonic transforms into Super Sonic to get there faster, since I guess being the fastest thing alive does correlate to being an impatient bitch. Also bold of you to assume I have the tolerance to get the Chaos Emerald in Sonic 2. Anyway, so as soon as Sonic arrives on Angel Island, he's ambushed by Knuckles, obviously since he was tricked into thinking he's the bad guy, and steals the Emerald, so Sonic and Tails have to retrieve the Emeralds as well as stop Robotnik from relaunching the Death Egg so he can take over the world. The story here has a lot more going on than in other games. There's no animated cutscenes like Sonic CD since this wasn't made for the Sega CD, but we do have in-engine cutscenes pretty often, which by the way, the new sprites are fucking beautiful. Now, the main feature of this game's story is the introduction of Knuckles the Echidna, which I'll say Knuckles is awesome, both his portrayal in this game and in later entries. Knuckles is quite stubborn, shown by how easily he's tricked by Robotnik, but really that just shows how dedicated he is to protecting his home and he'll do anything to protect it. For the majority of the game, he's an antagonist to Sonic, pretty much just being the biggest dickhead possible. Many times in your adventure, he'll show up and fuck you over in almost any way he can, really just making you want to punch him in the face. I think the game does a great job making you want to defeat Knuckles, since he's always there antagonizing you. I mean, he's the entire reason you fall onto Hydrocity, which is arguably a good thing since I love that zone. But after a 1-to-1 fight in Hidden Palace, which is probably still harder than the character battles in Sonic Adventure, he learns that the mad scientist is merely using Knuckles to keep Sonic away from launching the Death Egg when he steals the Master Emerald from his clutches and electrocutes him, causing you to team up with Knuckles to defeat Robotnik. Seriously, I love how the game handles storytelling with these in-engine cutscenes, and it makes me care for the characters even without dialogue. After Sonic 3, Knuckles is still like a rival to Sonic. They don't hate each other, but their pals who are also rivals. You can also play as Knuckles, who has a different campaign actually. It takes place after Sonic's, and instead of Robotnik being the main antagonist, it's the Egg Robot, which makes sense, since he begins to despise Robotnik after he betrays him. But Knuckles also does have some new abilities. He can glide through the air as well as climb up walls. These abilities are really useful, and the level design is actually quite different in some stages, although the only drawback is that he can't use the extra abilities granted by the elemental shields, which I'll get into later. You can also play as Tails separately, which you could in Sonic 2, but this time you can actually utilize his flight abilities, basically making him the easy mode since they share the same level design with Sonic, thus meaning it's easier to explore for goodies. But just like Knuckles, he can't utilize the extra abilities granted by the the elemental shields. So overall, I think Knuckles is a fantastic addition to the series, completing what is now known as a Sonic Trio, and he's one of my favorite characters in the entire franchise, honestly. Now let's talk about the core gameplay, which in my opinion is the best of the entire classic series by a long shot. And before you come in saying, well, what about Mania? That isn't a classic Sonic game. It plays like its predecessors, a momentum-based platformer with platforming and speed that you earned from running through loops, slopes, and more. Sonic still has a spin dash and has basically become a signature ability at this point, but the super peel out isn't here. Makes sense since it didn't have much reason to even be there, and that also means the spin dash isn't this puny wet fart like in Sonic CD. Sonic 3 does introduce a brand new ability, and that's the Insta Shield. Watch me do it right now, blink and you'll miss it, see? Basically it does what the name insinuates, pops up a shield for a few frames you can use to hit enemies. What really grinds my gears when people are talking about Sonic 3 is people saying the Insta Shield is useless, because it really isn't. It can be super useful for taking down enemies that are heavily armored, and if you're still not sure if you'll be able to land a hit, go ahead and prop it up anyway, it can never hurt. Although I can't begin to tell you how many damn times I've accidentally activated Supersonic just from trying to use the Insta Shield, since they're both mapped to the A button while midair. Trust me, I love me some Supersonic, but not when it comes to levels I really enjoy like Flying Battery. Although Sandopolis fucking skip all that shit. All the signature power-up monitors return, however the default shield is gone, and instead we have 3 new shields known as the Elemental Shields, which are seriously the second coming of Jesus Christ. Man, I love these so damn much, they're all so fun to use, plus they can be extremely useful in certain situations. There are 3 Elemental Shields, the Fire Shield, the Electric Shield, and the Water Shield. They each grant you immunity to each of their respective elements. Fire lets you be immune to all fire obstacles, yes, including lava. Water Shield lets you breathe underwater without having to use air bubbles, and the Electric Shield lets you be immune to the very rare electric attack, as well as attract all nearby rings to Sonic. However, assuming you aren't playing as Tails or Knuckles, these also grant you another ability. The Fire Shield letting you boost forward, kinda like the homing attack in later entries, but without the homing part. The Electric Shield lets you do a double jump, and the Water Shield lets you bounce up and down, actually letting you reach some high areas if you gain enough velocity. I think these are all amazing additions, since not only are they, well, shields letting you take an extra hit, but the abilities they bring to the table can be a load of fun to experiment with. Personally, I think my favorite has got to be the Electric Shield. Although electric attacks aren't very common, I love the double jump it grants, and it being a ring magnet can be pretty useful for scoring extra lives. Oh, but hold on, this soundtrack is fucking awesome!
Yo! Ah!
This has gotta be one of my favorite Sonic soundtracks. Not my favorite, I think Adventure 1 beats it by a little bit, but I love all the compositions in this game so much. I'm not very good at writing about music, like at all, but all I can tell you is that my ears like it so much it makes them say yes. Even cooler is that Act 1 and 2 of his own have separate tracks, with Act 2's song usually just being a variation of the Act 1 theme, but it still makes them all feel more distinct. The level design here is the best in the classic series, all of the bullshit and trial and error is gone, although it mostly was in Sonic 2 except for the Metropolis and Death Egg, Green Fortress not so much. But here is just straight up fun, momentum-based platforming all the way through. I also really love the level aesthetics. They feel a lot more organic than Sonic 2, which already had pretty nice locations. But here they all feel like real places Sonic would really run through on his adventure. On top of that, I think the sprite art done here is beautiful, even by today's standards of a game like Celeste. Another thing that makes the game organic is that Act 1's goalpost is now Act 2's beginning, since right when the first act ends, the second one begins. This makes the whole journey just flow a lot better. Plus, something new here is zone transitions. That's right, we actually get to see how Sonic and Tails travel to every zone. Knuckles deactivates the bridge, leading them to fall down into Hydrocity. Then afterwards in Hydrocity, a stream of water boosts them back up to the ground in Marble Garden. Tails flies Sonic to Carnival Night. They get boosted out of the cannon into Ice Cap Zone. I could keep going, but I'll stop here. Just the fact we get to see how Sonic gets to and from each zone is honestly just really cool in my opinion. Makes the game flow a lot better, since we now have context as to how Sonic got to these places that all look pretty different from each other. But back to the actual level design. By far my favorite part about these stages is how expansive they all are. That may sound weird since it said Sonic CD stages were too big. And speaking of that, I kind of want to clear up my statement regarding that. I think having large stages with many routes is good, but first of all, I just don't think Sonic CD's level design is as great as Sonic 3, since there are a lot more stages that are just okay. But it lacks in rewarding the player for their curiosity, which honestly it took me until playing Sonic 3 for this review to truly grasp why I thought that. Also, Sonic CD's levels are a lot bigger vertically than they are horizontally. By just speeding through, I can finish that game's stages in like a minute. And also, when Sonic CD, it kind of just feels like the game is taking me wherever it wants. But most of the time in Sonic 3, it really feels like I found something like some goodies or another secret route, or Big Ring, which I'll get into later. My favorite part of the levels in Sonic 3 is just exploring for any goodies, especially the elemental shields because I love those. Yeah, you see that life counter down there? That's what you get from treasure hunting Big Rings and other stuff like me. On top of that, the stages still feature more pathways to get to the goal anyway. The actual boss fights here are definitely a step up from the rest of the games. Most of them in Sonic 1 or 2 were starting to scoff at, either just being piss easy or annoying for the wrong reasons. And Sonic CD just felt like Robotnik was showing Sonic his brand new machines for the fun of it. But in Sonic 3, they're a lot more creative while still actually feeling like boss fights. Not to say they're all perfect. The boss in Sandopolis Act 1 is literally you just luring this big guy to the quicksand. Here's me looking through Twitter on my phone while doing this boss. And yes, you heard me right, Sonic 3 also brings Act 1 mini-bosses before the end. These usually aren't as complex or as hard as the Act 2 bosses, but I still like them. In addition, that makes the game better in my opinion. The special stages return here from all the other classic Sonic games. However, like what they do with the rest of them, the method in which you enter them is completely different this time. You don't need to have a certain number of rings or cross a checkpoint. You simply just have to explore the stages and find the big rings, which there are fortunately more than one of in an act. I think this method is perfect, and yes, I say perfect. These give a great incentive to make the player want to set out and explore the stages, and it isn't tedious like the robot transporters in Sonic CD since there's more than one of them. Now, the actual special stages are awesome as well. You play this minigame called Blue Sphere where you roam around the spherical land looking for blue spheres and avoiding red spheres, since touching any of those will kill you. Once you touch a blue sphere, it becomes a red sphere, and if you box in a set of blue spheres with red spheres, the entire pack will become rings you can collect. Once you collect all the blue spheres in a stage, you get a Chaos Emerald. Also, the longer you spend on a special stage, the faster you get, so finding the last few blue spheres can be really frantic. These are by far my favorite special stages in any Sonic game, even Mania, although I do get a kick out of those special stages. Not only is the method not as annoying as the rest, but I think the actual special stages are really fun. They aren't incredibly hard or annoying like Sonic 1 or 2 special stages, but they aren't super punishing either. At first, some people say it's like a puzzle, although I kind of disagree, since it's mostly just about finding the blue spheres and not dying, not how to collect the blue spheres. They do spice things up later on, introducing these bumpers that'll bounce you back as well as yellow spheres that will launch you forward. I've heard some people say that their eyes hurt from staring at the checkerboard patterns, but I never really had any issues like that, honestly. So overall, I love these special stages. They encourage exploration of the stages, and the actual special stages are still fun to play in my opinion. Once you get all 7 Chaos Emeralds, you can transform into Super Sonic, who's just like he was in Sonic 2, but to summarize, he's essentially God mode, extremely fast and can obliterate any enemy or boss in his path, except he's vulnerable to getting crushed and drowning. However, if you enter a big ring after getting all 7 Chaos Emeralds after launch base, you get transported to this area called the Hidden Palace. Here you can choose one of another 7 special stages, each one giving you a Super Emerald. These ones are definitely more complex than the 7 blue sphere stages from the normal Chaos Emeralds, but still not that hard. But what's cool is that you can actually choose which one to do next. So if you're struggling with one in particular, you can just come back and beat it later. Oh yeah, you know how I mentioned how you can reload your save after beating the game and replay any zone? Yeah, well you can also go and finish getting all the Chaos and Super Emeralds. So if you fail to get the good or true ending on your first playthrough, you can go back and get them. Now that's awesome, and you can even replay the Doomsday Zone. Now, what do you get for collecting all 7 Chaos and Super Emeralds? Well, by pressing the A button in midair with 50 plus rings, assuming you don't have an elemental shield, you can transform into Hypersonic. Hypersonic is basically God mode of Supersonic, which is already considered as a God mode. First, you can run even faster, breathe underwater. Took him 14 emeralds to do that, but he can breathe in space, no sweat. Okay then. As well as perform this dash ability that's like a mix of the fire and electric shield that also nukes all the enemies on screen. Man, talk about being overpowered. So in conclusion, the special stages here are better than the other games in every way. The method in which you find them is way better, since it encourages exploration without being tedious. The special stages themselves are actually fun. Hypersonic is a really cool reward. Plus, you get an extra final zone for getting all 7 Chaos Emeralds, where you get to play Supersonic as well as Hyper if you got all the Super Emeralds. Oddly enough, this is actually the only game Hypersonic makes an appearance. You know, Sonic Team, I would totally be down for Hypersonic to make a return in the next Sonic game, honestly. Before we go into the zone rundown, I'd like to briefly touch on the 2-player mode that makes its return from Sonic 2, although they play completely different. I got my friend with me and we played through it, and honestly, we both came to the agreement that Sonic 2 has a better multiplayer. First of all, instead of racing through 3 select zones that are untouched in their original in the main campaign, you have 5 entirely original zones. However, instead of just getting to the end, you have to race around in this very short looping stage and make about 5 laps to win. Honestly, it doesn't feel very competitive since you're just holding right for like all of them since they're all super easy. In one lap, usually takes 15 or less seconds. Just making laps through these really short stages wasn't a whole lot of fun compared to Sonic 2, honestly. So if you want to play multiplayer in one of the Genesis games, I recommend Sonic 2. Now, let's go over all 14 zones this game has to offer and give my opinion on each of them. Angel Island. This is the first zone in the game, and I think it's a great introduction level. I think I might have even enjoyed this stage more than Green Hill, if I gotta be honest. Around halfway to Act 1, the island is lit on fire, and in my opinion, has some great aesthetics. Oh, and I really like the music in the zone. Yeah, get used to hearing that a lot. Hydrocity or Hydrocity, honestly not sure which pronunciation is correct, is this game's water theme level. Believe it or not, I love this zone. The main reason I enjoyed Aquatic Room was because it rewarded the player by having all the upper ruts be away from the water entirely, although the underwater sections themselves are eh. In Hydrocity, I'm having fun both on the surface and in the water. And would you look at that, you can even go fast underwater. Take a notes labyrinth. I also love jamming to the track in this zone. God, I love it so much, and the aesthetics here are beautiful. Marble Garden Zone. This zone is alright. It isn't particularly bad, but I'm still not a huge fan of the gimmicks at play here. They require a lot of spikes and other shit that'll hurt you, some you can't really see coming. And to be frank, this drill platform controls like utter ass. There's no hiding that. But man, is this zone huge. Just look at the map. I even managed to get the score bonus from getting exactly 9 minutes 59 seconds without even trying in Act 2. Also not a fan of the Act 2 boss, like with the drill controls like dog shit. Carnival Night Zone. Another solid zone. I enjoy the carnival aesthetics and the music is pretty catchy. The zone is actually pretty infamous for these barrels. Most of them are just moving platforms that'll spin you around, but some of them you can actually move up and down with the D-pad. And there's this one part in Act 2 where you enter a door for it to immediately close in on you and trap you in a room with nothing but a barrel. This has garnered the nickname Barrel of Doom. Obviously, it's quite simple if you know that you can control them, but considering how the game doesn't take any time to explain this stuff, a lot of people got stuck here, and I don't blame them honestly. Although to be fair, there are a few barrels earlier in the zone you can't control, but none that trap you in a room like this. Also, I believe if you take the right paths, you can actually avoid the Barrel of Doom entirely. Ice Cap Zone. This is the snow themed level of the game, although there aren't really any snow gimmicks you think you'd find here. This zone kicks off with this set piece of Sonic snowboarding super fast that is entirely there only to look cool, but hey, it definitely succeeds in doing that. It is a solid zone though, not really that much to point out honestly. Oh yeah, the music is great. Launch Base Zone. This zone is actually the final zone of the game if you're playing Sonic 3 alone, which it certainly doesn't feel like one. I mean, aesthetically I guess, since you are attempting to prevent Robotnik from launching the Death Egg, hence the zone name. The main reason it feels so anticlimactic is probably just because how short Sonic 3 alone felt, considering how much zones were in Sonic 2. It doesn't give you CBT like Scrap It in Metropolis, it isn't incredibly long either like Metallic Madness. In terms of difficulty, I guess it's slightly harder than what the game pulled before. I won't deduct any points because it doesn't kick my ass in the finale, but I just felt like pointing that out. Oh, but I love the zone theme so damn much. If you're playing Sonic 3 alone, you do get to fight this big arm boss, but unfortunately in Sonic 3 and Knuckles you don't. I'm assuming since they just shoehorned it in there for an actual final boss, but it still feels weird without it honestly. Mushroom Hill Zone. This zone is full of mushrooms to bounce on and that's really it. Just overall a good zone, not that much else to say honestly. Although to be honest, I much prefer the original zone named Mushroom Valley. Not only does it sound way cooler, but I just think it fits. I mean, can you really tell me this place looks like a hill and not a valley? They probably just did it because it was the first zone in the game and they realized they had to put the word hill in it. Flying Battery Zone. Not sure exactly why, but I really enjoy this zone. It's probably one of my favorites. I love the visuals. This zone looks beautiful. And if I could legally marry an MP3 file on my computer, that being this zone's music, I'd marry it for sure. Heck, I'd even have sex with it before marriage. It's fairly linear to be honest, not as much branching pathways, and has like 3 big rings in the entire zone. But I don't know, this one is just super fun to play. Great mix between speed and slow platforming. Sandopolis Zone. I hear a lot of people shit on this zone for just being, well, shit. But to be frank, I don't think it's that bad. None of the gimmicks here really grind my gears. The aesthetics are cool looking, although Act 2 does drag on for a long time. And like I said, I literally managed to beat the Act 1 boss by scrolling through Twitter. Lava Reef Zone. This is the lava theme stage, so expect a ton of lava everywhere, which also means there'll be some fire shields lying around, so heck yeah. I also really like the Act 2 boss. Not sure why to be honest, I just think the concept is really cool. Hidden Palace Zone. After Lava Reef, we make our way to Hidden Palace, which is actually the place you get teleported to and entering a big ring for the Super Emeralds. Here we get a one-on-one fight with Knuckles himself. It's really easy, but it's cool getting to fight the prick who's been a pain in your ass throughout the entire journey. But after that encounter, a huge revelation is revealed. Holy shit, Robotnik is stealing the Master Emerald! Oh, and he betrayed Knuckles too! After this, Knuckles finally joins our side to help us stop Dr. Robotnik since he learned of his true nature. So he brings us to this transporter we're taken to Sky Sanctuary Zone. Man, I already love this level for the aesthetics alone. This zone looks so beautiful and the music is so calming and relaxing. Man, this would be a perfect song to use when you're in outer space trying to prevent someone from taking over the world, right, Sonic Pocket Adventure? Seriously, why do they do that? This zone is also pretty tense, since you're frantically rushing to get to the Death Egg Zone before Robotnik launches it into space. This zone also has a few counters with Mecha Sonic. No, not Silver Sonic or Metal Sonic, Mecha Sonic. His design looks super badass, but the box itself is pretty simple. Oh golly, I wonder if Mecha Sonic has a good relationship with Yoshi. But man, I love this cutscene of Sonic and Tails running up the stairs as fast as they can, pursuing Robotnik in the nick of time and managed to enter the Death Egg Zone. Here we are, the final zone of the game. But unlike its Sonic 2 counterpart, it features 2 entire acts and it isn't just a boss level. Oh, and it also looks way different, which I totally dig this new aesthetic. The music is also a bop too. This zone also features some anti-gravity gimmicks, which I know isn't everyone's cup of tea, although I didn't mind them too much. Oh boy, here we are, the final showdown with Robotnik all the way up in outer space, and oh, the music, I love it so much. The first phase is very simple. The Eggman Robo tries to crush you with his fingers, which are super easy to avoid, and just spin dashing in place can literally get the job done. After that is when the real boss begins, so now you're on rails being chased by the Eggman Robo as the floor collapses. This phase is all about timing and knowing when you can hit him. You see, the way to deal damage is by hitting the cockpit, which is revealed once you get close enough to him, but when you do end up getting close to him, he'll start charging up this insta-kill beam that is somewhat easy to evade if you know how to time it. In between that, he also uses his fire tech to keep you away from his cockpit. After defeating the Eggman Robo, Robotnik emerges from the robot carrying the Master Emerald, and now you're down to one final chase as the floor collapses, and also... yeah, fuck knockback. Now that we finally stopped Robotnik, this is usually where the game would end and the credits would roll. But if you manage to get all 7 Chaos Emeralds, you get access to the real final boss of the game, the Doomsday Zone. Here we get to control Supersonic, or Hypersonic if you also got the Super Emeralds, and face Robotnik in the real final showdown. For a while, you're chasing Robotnik's spacecraft, collecting rings so don't lose your super form and fucking die, and avoiding these asteroids as well as his missiles. This boss is a race against time, really, since you're incredibly overpowered, but once your ring count hits 0, you're gonzo. So you have to collect as many rings as you can while trying to beat Robotnik as fast as you can. Once you catch up to him, you have to try and redirect his rockets he shoots at you to him, which is easier said than done, because they home in on you like a motherfucker, plus there's little projectiles that he fires that'll send you all the way back to South Africa. I don't really have any issues with this phase, however, there is this. Look, I know the boss doesn't technically end there, but you could have at least made the rank count stop decreasing, because for at least like 10 seconds something happens before the last phase begins. So honestly, that just felt pretty unfair to me. After you destroy a spacecraft, you pursue the Eggman rowboat in possession of the Master Emerald one last time, collecting rings, avoiding asteroids plus his missiles once again. Honestly, I think the aesthetics here boost the overall quality so much. You're fighting Robotnik for the fate of the world all the way up in outer space in your most powerful form yet, and the music blaring gets you so motivated you just beat the shit out of him. Once you land that final hit, the Eggman Robo explodes as he snatches your Master Emerald from him once and for all. Tails comes into your rescue just like he did in Sonic 2, as you two bring the Master Emerald back to Angel Island and it finally begins to float again and the credits roll, thus ending the adventure as well as Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So overall, I think Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a fantastic game, a masterpiece even. This game just does everything right. The story, the music, the music, the level design that encourages exploration and is super rewarding, the special stages finally being fun, and the only ones I actually go out of my way to get when I replay this game in my free time. All of this combined into Sonic 3 and Knuckles being one of my favorite games of all time, let alone my favorite Sonic game. Unfortunately, due to legal issues regarding the soundtrack, this game doesn't get re-released nearly as much in collections as such. It's $5 on Steam, but I recommend you play it via Sonic 3 Angel Island Revisited or Sonic 3 Air for short. This video's gone on long enough, so I'll keep it brief. Sonic 3 Air is a fan-made remaster of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, basically the Christian Whitehead version we never got. It has widescreen, 60 frames per second, and act select, even more settings to mess around with than Sonic 3 Complete. This version does require that you have Sonic 3 on Steam, but besides that, this is the way to go when playing Sonic 3. And with that, I'll see you on the next review. Here's to the end of the Genesis Sonic Marathon.
Brandt, aren't you forgetting something?
Huh? Oh god. I really wasn't expecting to reach a like goal so fast. But you know what, I'll make it quick. Let's go. Dr. Robotnik's BB machine. Yeah, this game is just Puyo Puyo, there's no hiding that. Now, what do I think of Puyo Puyo? I mean, it's alright, but I'm not very good at it. I can only really set up 3 chains at best. I own both Puyo Puyo Tetris 1 and 2, and I've put a lot of time into those games. The first one especially, although I almost entirely play Tetris in that game. Sonic Spinball. This game is basically just pinball, but Sonic is the ball. You kind of just bounce around, opening new pathways and such to progress. I didn't play much of this game, I only played for like 15 minutes and managed to grab all the emeralds from Toxic Cave before calling it quits. I don't see much reason to go back and play this one because, well, it isn't bad, most of it is mediocre. It doesn't play anything like a Sonic game, but if you enjoy pinball, then maybe you'll get a kick out of this one. Sonic 3D Blast. Man, I've been dreading heading back to this game. What really baffles me about this one is that this was supposed to be Sonic's proper jump into 3D, and like, huh? This game plays nothing like a Sonic game. First of all, the control is terrible. It feels like you're walking on ice constantly, and that's really not good. Besides the awful control, this is nothing like the beloved Genesis Sonic games like 2 and 3. Instead of being 2D, you have this isometric camera, meaning you can now move along the Z-axis. You literally never actually go fast in this game. The only times you ever do is during transitions to the other parts of the level, where Sonic may go through a loop. And any actual platforming is nearly impossible because of how ass the control is. Instead, your objective is to find 5 flickies that are within the badniks and escort them to the goal. Rinse and repeat until the level ends. The annoying part is that once you get a flicky, it follows you, of course. So when you get hit, you have to collect all your flickies again, which can be super annoying because how slippery the control is. Also, because of how you have to find all 5 flickies in this stage, they all feel like mazes, and some drag on for way too long. The only positives I can think of is that the levels look pretty and the music is actually really good. But anything regarding the gameplay I hate. I managed to get around Act 2 of the second zone before turning this game off. But hey, cut me some slack. Back when I was a kid, I managed to get to the final zone of this game somehow, so I ain't replaying all this shit. Even if you're just curious, don't waste your time playing this pile of shit. Okay, can I go home now?